Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's session titled Moving to the Cloud with OneDrive for Business. My name is Martin, and I will be in the meeting for the first 15 minutes. I'm logged into this meeting as meeting operator. If you have any issues, you can contact me by typing a message in the chat window. You can also send your team an email at weregsup@microsoft.com. During this session, you have the ability to ask questions using the I Am window. A survey link will be shared with you at the end of the meeting. We would greatly appreciate it if you would take a few minutes to complete our survey and provide feedback on your experience. This will help us to improve our services. Please note that the session is being recorded. And now I would like to welcome your instructors. Alan and Hua, you have the floor.
Hi everyone. Good morning. Thanks for the introduction. So let me switch to my slide. So today I'm going to talk about the session regarding the moving to the cloud with OneDrive for business. And in case you don't know me, let me introduce myself. And I'm from China. I'm working in the Microsoft Partner Technical Service team. And I am providing the partners on the pre-sales and technical service here. So I'm focusing on the Office 365 and especially on the SharePoint and the SharePoint Online. I am working in Microsoft for over 6 years, and especially in the SharePoint areas here. So today, this is the second topic in the introduction to SharePoint Online technical series. And in tomorrow we will have some more deliveries regarding this session. So give you a slide here. Now we are in the second topic. And tomorrow we will be talking about the Office 365 teamwork organization. And then we will discuss the external sharing with the SharePoint Online and the partner-facing extranet sites. From the next week, we will be discuss the topic on protecting your data in the SharePoint Online and the OneDrive for Business. And in the last one, is about the driving the Office 365 adoption for education solutions. So these 6 topics are about for the introduction to SharePoint Online. And starting from the March, we will be focusing on delivering the technical deep dive on SharePoint Online. So you are welcome to register these sessions if you want to go deeper in the SharePoint Online. Okay. So let's go back to our session here. Here is our agenda. So after today's session, I would like you to be able to say the difference between the OneDrive and the SharePoint Online, and you can tell your customer to make them understand how to deploy the OneDrive for Business in your enterprise environments. And we also talk something about the migration options. And then we will discuss the OneDrive Admin Center. And also we will give you some information about the upcoming features. That is a kind of the new features in the OneDrive for Business. So this is the 5 models in today's agenda. The first agenda is about the OneDrive for Business overview. So let me give you some of the background. In case you don't know the OneDrive and the SharePoint Online, so this is the background to talk to your customers that what is the exactly purpose when we are using the OneDrive and the SharePoint Online. So our customers might have these kind of the challenges. The challenges might from the business users standpoint, or from the IT challenges standpoint here. So talk about the business users the challenges. The business user, they are focusing on their business, so they want the solutions to be able to the collaborations, the practice in something like they want to share the document to their colleagues, to their team members, and those documents might do not be on the email attachments, because with the email attachments they have to review the documents in the multiple versions and multiple places here. So they want a central place to store and to share these documents, so everyone can see the same document on the same place with the same versions. So this is the first challenges here. So without the efficient collaboration places, the practice here. So they also need to find a way to share the document, the files, inside and outside of the organizations. This is something that they need to work on the document here, and they need to share the document with his colleagues, and also they can share the document to his customers there. So they want a place to share these files. And also they need to there are too many informations in the organizations, so the business user might spend a lot of time in finding and searching the relevant informations they want. And also they want to find a way that is a kind of the anywhere and anytime access to their document. So this is the business users challenges here. From the IT standpoint, so what are their challenges? The first one is the IT staffs, they want to meet the business users the requirements, but they also need to meet the COPS compliance and the security required of the requirement, this kind of the requirements. So, and second, the IT staffs need to take care about the cost, something like the cost of maintaining and these files, the cost of to protect these files to make sure those are safe, something like they allow the business users to share the files to the external, to their customers. They also need to find a way what exactly those external sharing meet the COPS compliance standards. So we will have a special session in the protecting your data in the SharePoint Online. So in that session we will be talking about something like the IRM, the RMS, or the DLP in the Office 365. So we will have a special session to talk about this here. So we have already talking something about the business challenge, and then we will give you a the high-level information about with the SharePoint Online, how we can share these files, how the business users can do the collaborations with the SharePoint Online. So with the SharePoint Online, we have two places for our business users to store their files. The one is the My Files, and the second one is the Team Files. So what is the My Files? So the My Files is actually the OneDrive for business in the Office 365. My Files is that every person, every business user, they will have a special storage place to store their documents. Each business user is the owner of their personal files. So this is kind of the OneDrive. And the team sites is something like there is a SharePoint site collection or the SharePoint modern experience team site. So your teams and several users are able to access to that SharePoint team site. So once the user has the permission to access to that site, and he will be able to get to review the document, to download the document, or even the edit that document. Once the document in the team site is modified, everyone in that team site will be able to see the changed version of the file. So you remember we have the OneDrive, that is for the My files, and the SharePoint site collection, that is for the team files. Example is something like this, something like you might be a sales staff. So you would like to prepare a presentation, something like sales presentation to your customer. So initially, you start by creating the presentation files in your OneDrive. At this moment, this file is still the draft version. So you are the owner to this file. So you only store this file in your OneDrive. And you begin to modify this file. And then after some times, you need the collaborations with your teams, something you need the review for your managers, or you need another people to work together with you to work on these documents. So you move this file from your OneDrive into the team site, and then the whole team will be able to see this file. And you and your teams, your colleagues are working on these files. And finally, you get approval for your managers. This is something that we have the content approval, something like these features in the team sites. Also, you might have the publish features, something like the version controls. So people working together on the team sites, and then you have the final version in the presentation. So that presentation in the team sites is ready to present to your customers, and your colleagues also be able to get the documents, get the file from the team site. They can get referenced to create their own versions. Probably that old version can be used for another customer, something like this. So this is the difference between the My files and the team files. And the key point here is the My files is for the OneDrive, and the team files is actually for the SharePoint site collection here. Okay, so model 1 is quite simple, give you a very high level information about the OneDrive for Business here. The second point, in the model 2, we will be talking about the deployment here. So how we deploy the OneDrive for Business into our customers here. So we will give you, in these slides, we will give you information about the software requirements for the NGSC. So what exactly the NGSC? This is actually the acronym for the next generation sync client. So you probably hear about the OneDrive for Business that is brought in the Office. So when you install the Office, such as the Office 2013, or something like in the versions, and you probably heard about the OneDrive for Business, that is the sync client. And now we will be talking about the next generation sync client. So the next generation sync client is a tool that you can sync both to your personal, that is the OneDrive for commercial, OneDrive for personal, and also you can use that tool to sync to your Office 365. But OneDrive for Business, actually, that tool is used to sync to your SharePoint on-premise document libraries here. So today I'm talking about the Office 365, so I'm focusing on talking about the next generation sync tool. So for the software requirements here is it supports the Windows 7, the Windows 8, and the Windows 10. And also, if you want the co-authoring and the sharing capabilities within the Office apps, so something like you need to, for example, you want the off co-author or the sharing capability is if you open that document in your client and you want to share this document directly from your client site, and you never go into the SharePoint Online to click the link. And this kind of the features is actually you have to brought in with the Office apps. So you need to make sure the click-to-run building with the 16-point versions has to be installed in your client. But you kind to understand that the NGSC is not support the on-premises, the SharePoint on-premises here. So if you want to sync the on-premise, the SharePoint on-premise, you have to install the OneDrive for Business. That is a kind of the group.exe. That is kind of the applications here. So this is the software requirements in the NGSC. Talking about how we deploy the NGSC into our enterprise environment. So think about this is the think about the scenarios. So in case your customer might have the hundreds of the end users or thousands of users, how do you deploy the OneDrive, the NGSC into your client environment? It's not a good idea to ask the end users to install these applications manually, to install applications into their client. So you need to find a way to deploy the next generation sync client tool into your customer's environment. So this is kind of probably you can use the SCCM to deploy this application, or you probably use the group policy, something like you deploy the starter script and then force this group policy when the client user they start their client, and then the application could be automatically to be installed into their client. So these are the two methods to deploy the NGSC to your customer's environment here. So before we talking about how we exactly using these methods, so let me give you some background. Let me give you something about the background of the NGSC, how this is exactly to be installed in the end user. So firstly, the IT administrator, when they are deploying the new OneDrive for Business sync client into their enterprise users, they are deploying the OneDrive.exe into every user. So actually, when you find the NGSC, actually this is the OneDrive.exe that is be deployed into every user's profile. So if you have multiple users, they are working on the same computer, something like you have a computer might be shared with 2 or 3 users on the same computer, and each user, they might have a single user profile. So you have to install the OneDrive for every user's profile. So I got one question. So Alan, could you help me to answer this question? So my colleague Alan is here, so he can help me to answer your questions here. Okay. So in this place, we will be focusing on using the OneDrive setup.exe to help you to deploy this application into your customer environment here. So we will be having the OneDrive setup.exe. You can start by manually by running this setup. And after you set up the OneDrive setup.exe, and there will be a OneDrive.exe to be installed into the current user's profile. So you can run the PowerShell script, such as you can add the parameter, such as in silence. So when you have the silence parameter into this OneDrive setup.exe, the end user don't see the installation pages here. Okay, after you install the OneDrive setup.exe and the second one, you will help your customer to launch the OneDrive.exe. So this is the you can use in this one to launch the OneDrive.exe. You can see that this is a local update here. So this is exactly the OneDrive.exe. Where exactly the OneDrive.exe here? So you can start this on your user's machine, and you can add the parameters such as the tenant ID. So this is actually allow the users to enter the OneDrive setup. So after you launch the OneDrive, and then the end user should be able to choose exactly which the OneDrive to be installed into their client. And the last one, we can use the ADMX template. So you can this is actually a way you can allow your administrators to set how your organizations to be set up the update cadence. What exactly how your end users to receive the updates to their sync clients here. So this is the 3 steps in deploying the NGSC into our enterprise environment. So we have 2 EXEs here. The one is the OneDrive setup .exe, and the second one is the OneDrive.exe. The OneDrive.exe is actually exactly the running applications with Office 365. Okay, so here is the steps in deploying the OneDrive Nexus generations. So before we deploy the OneDrive setup.exe, so we need to take care some things in this place here. So the NGSC actually already comes with the Office 2016 and all Windows 10 devices. So if your organizations has already running the Windows 10, so by default they will have the Office 365 the OneDrive next generation sync client tool. Yeah, but what happens if your customer still on the Windows 7 or Windows 8? So you need to manually to run the OneDrive setup.exe into their customer environment here. The second point to take here is the OneDrive setup.exe is actually be deployed as an EXE, not an MSI. So what exactly this? When we deploy the MSI, that is something like you deploy the application for each user if they log on to the computer. But the EXE is different. EXE is quite a standalone applications and actually to be deployed into each user's profile. So even you deploy the OneDrive setup.exe into the one user and the second user log into this application again, you have to run the OneDrive setup.exe again for the second user. So a little bit difference here. And you have to run the OneDrive setup.exe with the elevation permission. So without the we'll be able to for each user to receive the update without the elevation here. Just mentioned here, OneDrive setup.exe is actually to be installed on each user. So just installed for the current logon user. So the next user, if the next user log on to this computer again, they have to install this application. Okay. Just running in the current user's contacts as we just mentioned here. Also, we can have the kind of the administration settings with a group policy. So you can set up the group policy, and you will be decide how exactly the user or each user can get the updates, what exactly the behavior for each user. So these are something like we need to take care before we deploy the OneDrive setup.exe. So next slide, we will be giving more details about the administration settings here. So here is some details. That is the available options for our administrators and when they deploy the OneDrive for Business. And something like this, we can have this kind of the group policies here. Something like the co-authoring and in-app sharing for the Office files. So those are policies we can decide how exactly the users can get this file. So check the first group policy here. So this policy actually can enable if you can have the live co-authoring or the in-app sharing for the Office files, right? The second one, you can set up the OneDrive updates. So you have two waves for get the updates. The first waves is about something like when an update becomes available, and it will take 1 or 2 weeks to get complete, right? Or you can decide to delay updating OneDrive until the second release wave, something like this. Okay, so those are something the group policies I just mentioned here. You can configure this group policy for your end users, and then you can have this something here. Okay, we also have something that's the transition from the previous versions into the next generation syncline tools. So now we are working on the next generation. That is exactly the OneDrive.exe. But currently, we still have many customers. They are still on the old versions, such as they are still using the OneDrive for Business to sync up their SharePoint or the Office 365. So we need to talk to our customer to transition the group.exe into the OneDrive.exe. So these are kind of the transition to migrate from the OneDrive for Business into the OneDrive next generation. So those are something the steps we need to take here. We need first one, these are kind of we stop the previous OneDrive for Business sync client. We need to stop this sync for the group.exe. And then the new sync client tool, that is the OneDrive.exe, get started to syncing the same OneDrive sites. So this is quite important when we are helping our customers to transition from the group.exe to the OneDrive.exe. You are not needing to re-downloading the content. You just using the existing local content to continue to sync using the OneDrive.exe to sync exactly the same downloaded content without re-download the content. This is quite important because in case our customer has hundreds or thousands of users, so that is very important for them to replace the OneDrive.exe with the group.exe. So it will help them to be more faster, right? Also, the previous OneDrive for Business Sync client, they stops running, and it will be removed automatically from the startup automatic startup here. Okay, so here is something the general steps in the way we can deploying our OneDrive for Business into our customer environment here. So let me switch to a quick demo. I'm not going to exactly to install the SCM, but I'm going to give you some the information about what exactly the OneDrive setup.exe and the OneDrive here. So I'm switching to my demo environment. So just give me a second. So let me switch to the demo environment here. Yeah, so if you have any questions, please feel free to type in the chat window. My colleague Alan is helping you to answer your question. Okay. So today I'm going to use the Windows 7. This is my lab environment. So please let me know if you can see my desktop sharing. Okay, so let me give you some quick information about the OneDrive setup.exe. Actually, with the Windows 7, if we want to deploy the OneDrive for our end customers, we have to deploy the OneDrive setup.exe because Windows 7 don't have the OneDrive. So we have to we can download the OneDrive setup.exe. Actually, I have already downloaded here. So something like this. This is the OneDrive setup. So we can, for each end user, we can run this application directly. But actually, you can use the SCCM or something like the group policy to start your the setup. So every user, when they start the application, when they start to log on their computer, so they can automatically to install the OneDrive. So this is the way we currently to install the single user for the OneDrive setup here. Okay, so this still is running. Reno, I noticed you ask many questions. So, Rana, are all your questions answered? Okay, thank you. Okay, so hang on the step setup exe because it will take some time to check the OneDrive here. Okay, actually this should be installed. You can see here, after you set up the OneDrive setup.exe, and actually you should see something like this. This is the OneDrive sync client here. And actually, if you check something details here, and it will automatically to see the setup here. So you need to log in. But I want to give you some info exactly see here. If you check the properties, and you will see something like the interesting thing. This you can see this is exactly the OneDrive.exe, and actually it is located in the each user's profile, actually in the current user's app data, the folder. So what happened if another user log into this computer? So they have to run the OneDrive setup again. This will be make sure the OneDrive.exe to be installed into this current user. So you can, using this account, you can log in to running and signing into the client here. And then they can sign in and to choose the folders to get downloaded files from their OneDrive. So this is exactly, okay, sorry, probably I have some network issues in my lab here. Yeah, sorry. So probably something like this because okay, just saying. Okay, I got it. Because this is a lab, the network is not very good here. So it's download the files from the OneDrive. So the point here, you will see exactly the OneDrive.exe is actually to be installed in each user's profile. So this is very important. And actually, you can use the SCCM in deploying the OneDrive into your end customer's environment here, because using the SCCM is very important. So think about you want to deploy the OneDrive setup exe into hundreds of users into your customer's environment. You have to use the SCCM. So this is a link. I think this is very important, and for you to if you want to learn the how exactly to deploy the SCCM. So this is something the link I get from the technical blog. So if you want to learn how to deploy the SCCM and how to use the OneDrive to set up the EX in your customer environment here. Actually, the SCCM is actually to force the OneDrive setup.exe to be running in each client user's computer to force they are running the exe, something like this. So you can get this link to learn exactly how to deploy the OneDrive and the OneDrive for Business from your client environment here. Okay. Also, you can use something like using the group policy. You can use the group policy to deploy the OneDrive into your customer's environment. Something like you can deploy to force the end user to run the setup when they sign in to their client computer. So something like this. I'm giving you a quick information about the group policy. Something like this. For example, in my client environment, I choose what exactly the computer to have the group policy. So for a test purpose, I'm going to choose some. This is currently I'm using the Active Directory. So the computer on the Active Directory. So I create a dedicated OU, and then I can deploy this group policy. I'm using this one. For example, I can put some the test computers into this OU, and then I can create some the group policy, and then using the group policy to set up the computer configurations here, something like this. Or you can using the scripts, and then you can force the startup scripts here. So after you set up the scripts and the startup scripts here, and you can add something the policy. Actually, you can create the script into the startup scripts, and then once the user running into the computer in their client, and then the script will be running automatically here. So those are something where you can do. So actually, because the group policy and the SCM is something to be running for some time, so I'm not going to show this in my today's demo, but I will give you information after today's sessions. You can learn and you can practice by yourself in your own environment to learn how exactly it's working here. Okay. So go back to my slides. I'm going to talk something more about the migrations. So right now we have already helped our customer to deploy the OneDrive into their customers' environments. So next you will be learning how to migrate. So probably your customer right now still has the on-premise file share folders or file services. They want to have a way to migrate their files, or to migrate their on-premise environments, or migrate their SharePoint on-premise into the Office 365. So we will give you some very high-level information about what exactly the migration options for our customers. So in the Model 3, we will talk about something like this. We have some ways to migrate here. Using the OneDrive for Business is actually for the self-served migrations. So the first one is self-serve. Self-serve is actually the end user or your customer directly to migrate their files into the Office 365 using some of the built-in tools such as the OneDrive for Business. So you just use the OneDrive for Business to sync to a special documents library, and you just copy your files into that the synchronized local folder and the OneDrive for Business sync tool will be able to sync those files into the Office 365 directly. In this model, it is quite simple, so it is specially used for the small customers, and they don't have some of the complex scenarios. So something like they don't have the kind of the metadata into their files, so they can directly to copy those files into the Office 365. Also, you can use the consultation service. Something like this is a very the complex scenarios, such as you want to copy the permissions, you want to copy the files metadata, something like when you are planning the SharePoint on-premise migration into the SharePoint Online, you probably have the files metadata columns. So you want to copy the same into the Office 365. So you need to the third-party tools, or you might need some custom code to copy those exactly the metadata informations, right? Also, Microsoft, we have the Fast Track team. So Fast Track team is actually a Microsoft experts will guide you to migrate your files or into the Office 365. So this is actually the onboarding service from the Microsoft engineers to help and guide your customers for the migrations. Okay. So basically, we have 3 ways in the migrations purpose here. So these are the channels. The self-service, you can use the file share, or you can migrate the files from your file share or your SharePoint on-premise. And the consulting service with the third-party tools, something like everything you can do the migration, but this is actually complex the scenarios here. With Microsoft, actually we provide you the SharePoint migration API. Actually, recently we have a new tool that is the SharePoint migration tool, and you can use that tool to copy your files. But in this slide, we will give you the SharePoint migration API. So with the SharePoint migration API is actually a tool you can copy your files into the Azure storage, and then there will be a job running in the back end in the Azure to copy your files from the Azure storage into your SharePoint site. So the purpose here is to maximize your inputs, the throughput from your on-premise into the Office 365, because when we are uploading our files from our on-premise environment into the Azure, the purpose there is that Azure has a very quite better throughput to improve your uploading performance here. Okay, so actually in the March we will be having a special session that is a best practice for migrating your files into the SharePoint Online. We will be talking about what exactly the SharePoint migration API, what exactly the SharePoint migration tool. So we will be talking about that session, the details about this in that session here. So from this slide, I want you to remember that using the OneDrive for Business is actually a simple tool, easy for your customer to copy, to migrate your files into the Office 365. Okay, so this is the SharePoint migration API. So in this place, just to give you a slide, you can learn something, but without the details. We have a special session in talking about this. Okay, so with the SharePoint migration API is actually you have the source, something like the file share or your SharePoint on-premise environments. So exactly you can use the API to create a package. And then we can use the API to copy the files into the Azure temporary storage. So once the files is uploaded into the Azure temporary storage, and then there will be a SharePoint migration job that is running in the back end to copy the files from the Azure storage into the SharePoint destination. That can be your SharePoint team sites or the end users, the personal files here. So this is the general steps in talking about the migration API. Okay. Here is some the PowerShell you can learn. So you can, if you want to learn this immediately, you can use in this PowerShell to learn about what exactly here. Okay. In this slide is actually about the when we are talking to our customer. Here is some of the best practice in using the or the recommendations when we are using the migration API. So just to give you some informations here. So first one is regarding the package size. So the recommendations here, the package size is 2 to 4 gigabytes. So if you have something like you have 1 terabytes or 10 gigabytes, you probably need to split your files into different packages here. Or something like the file size, okay, or the target size when we are performing the migration process, the stage when we are performing the migrations, we need to make sure the user cannot to access these files. Okay. Also, some of the Azure limits in the storage accounts or the max size for the single blob containers, something like this here. After the session, I also give you a link to information about this kind of the best practice and the limitations here. So you can't hear. So Alan, can you hear me? Can you hear? Okay. Alan, can you help the on this issue? So we have the important boundary and the limitations within the Office 365 and the OneDrive for Business here. Those are something you need to remember. You need to talk to your customers here. The first one is about the probably he need to rejoin the session. Okay. This is about the for each user, for each end user, you will have 1 terabyte personal storage on your OneDrive for Business sites. And for each user, you will have the 1 terabyte storage. Actually, if the end user want to get more storage, they can ask the Microsoft Office 365 customer service and to increase the end user storage. But by default, they only get a 1 terabyte storage here. And we also have a tenant storage. So many partners ask me what exactly the difference about the 1 terabyte storage and the tenant storage. So in this place, I will give you some of the information here. The personal storage is for each user. For example, if you have 10 end user, so each user will have 1 terabyte storage by default for their personal sites. That is exactly OneDrive. So totally 5 users, they will have 5 terabyte storage. But for each end user, they only have 1 terabyte storage for each end user storage personal site, because each user they will have a different personal size. Each personal site will have 1 terabyte storage. So here is for the personal storage. And what exactly the tenant storage? The tenant storage is actually for the SharePoint team sites. So you create the site collection, and that site is accessible by each user if the user is assigned the proper permission to that site, to that SharePoint site collection. So the SharePoint site collection the document in the SharePoint site collection will use the Office 365 tenant storage. So by default, the tenant storage, the Microsoft allocate 1 terabyte plus 500 megabytes multiply and users. So by default, the more user license subscription you purchase from Microsoft, the more tenant storage you get from Microsoft. But if you want to get the more additional tenant storage, you can purchase the dedicated the storage from Microsoft, and then you can get the more storage for your tenant here. So exactly the difference about the personal sites, the personal storage, and the SharePoint tenant storage here. Okay. There are some additional the limitations here, such as the items and how many items can be synchronized into the document libraries, or the maximized file size for each user, or probably we have the invalid characters here. So those are the boundaries and the limits in the Office 365. You can get a link from Microsoft. You can learn exactly the details about the boundaries or the limitations. Okay. So these are some of the third-party tools. Probably you can use them if you have some the complex scenarios you want to move into the Office 365. So these third-party tools might be useful for you to migrate your files into the Office 365. But you probably they need some cost in providing this here. Okay. So in the Model 4, we will be focusing on delivering the OneDrive Admin Center. So OneDrive Admin Center is actually a new interface that is working in the Office 365. You can set up a couple of the settings or in the OneDrive Center. So the OneDrive Center is actually exactly you can configure how exactly the end users working on the OneDrive. There are a lot of the policies, something like you want to prevent the external sharing, you want to control the users to upload the special the file types, or you want to control how the users to access to their files. So this is exactly OneDrive Admin Center to be working here. So in the later, I'm going to give you a quick demo about what exactly the OneDrive Admin Center. So in this slide, you can give you a high-level information about what exactly the administrator can do to manage the OneDrive in the Admin Center. This is a list of the things the administrators can do here. So let me give you a demo about what exactly the OneDrive Admin Center here. So I'm going to switch to my demo environment. So just wait for a second. I'm switching here. So please let me know if you can see my desktop sharing. Okay, so this is the Office 365 Admin Center, and right now you can go to the Admin Center, and this is the OneDrive Admin Center here. So the link URL is the admin.onedrive.com, and you can see a couple of the options for the administrators can do here. So let me go through these, the sharing, the capabilities for the administrator here. So first one is the sharing. You can see here a couple of the options for the administrator to configure how exactly the sharing capabilities for your end users here. So something like this, the links here, the default link, right? So this one is actually, you can choose what is the default link type. Something like the first one is the shareable, that is anyone with a link, or the internal, so only the people in organizations can get the link. So something like this. This is about the advanced settings for the shareable links. So the link, whether the link be expired, something like you probably want to share files with your external users, and you want that link might be expired in case you forgot to close the external sharing for that user. So we have something like the expiration settings, or by default the link can be viewed, or the user gets the link can be viewed, or can edit or upload these files or the folders, something like this here. So those are the by default link types you get to your customer. And this is the external sharing. So you can configure a couple of the external sharing capabilities to your customer. Something like you want to configure the anyone or you want to configure the new and exist user to this kind of how exactly the sharing capabilities for your customer, right? So here is the advanced settings for the external sharing. Something like you allow or block the sharing with your people on specific domain. So something like this, you have your IT steps want to configure the external sharing. You want to block the end user to share your files externally, but you only want them to the specific domain because you have the collaborations with this customer or your partners, something like this. So you want to limit the external sharing by the domain, or you block the external sharing by the domain, something like this. So this is a way you can a lot of the options in configure how exactly the external sharings on their OneDrive and the OneDrive for Business. You can check exactly each one here. Okay, so this one is for the sharing capability here, and this is for the sync. And use this settings, you can control how exactly syncing of the files into the OneDrive and the OneDrive for and the SharePoint online here. Okay, so this one you decide whether you show or hide the sync button in the OneDrive website, right? Or you can have this one. You want to control only the PC joined to the specific domains, and then they can get the syncing. This option is something like you block sync on the Mac OS, right? You do not want the end user to sync on the computer, on the Mac. This is quite important here. So you only want the end users to sync on their domain joined computers, right? This will help you to prevent the end user to sync their files on the computers without your control, something like this. Or you want to block the specific sync file types. So, for example, you want to block the end user to sync the videos or something like, or the exe, something like this. So this is options for you to block the specifics, the file types in syncing into the Office 365. The stories here, by default, the Microsoft gives you the 1 gigabytes into the end users here. Okay. This is option is if the user is deleted, something like if the end user leaves your organizations, so you removed the user account in the Office 365. So actually, the end user's OneDrive, the My Site will be deleted, but they will have grace periods, so you can still get the end user, the OneDrive My Site, and then back up those files. So by default, you can set the 13 days to retain the file if the user left your organization. This is the something like the how exactly to access the files, such as you want to align, you want to control where your users to access your OneDrive into the Office 365. So you can restrict the IP access. So only for example, in this place, you only type your company's the IP, and then only the user can in your organizations can access the files, right? So in the outside, they might not be able to get this here. This is actually you can control based on the device-based restrictions. So you can disallow the apps without the modern authentication, something like this, or those options with the mobile application management. So this exactly to check to working on the how exactly the mobile application to access to your files here. Okay, this is about the compliance something, but this is not exactly in the OneDrive. Actually, we will have a lot of the settings in the DLP, the retention policies, the e-discovery, something like this. And in this way, it's just to give you a link to the settings here. So we will have a dedicated sessions in talking about the DLP, something like this. So you will be learning how to protect your files in the OneDrive and the Office 365. We will be talking about the IRM, the DLP, in the next sessions here. So those are the common settings you can learn, you can get from the OneDrive admin center here. So any questions in the OneDrive admin center? Okay, thank you. So if you have any questions, and you feel free to ask, and we will be answering here. Okay, so let me go back to my slide here.
So this is exactly the Model 5 will be give you quick informations about the new features here. But actually, this should be the last model, and we will take around 10 minutes in talking about this, and then we will be going into the Q&A. So you are feel free to ask questions. Yeah. So, okay. So the first one is the OneDrive on demand. Actually, this is a new feature in the OneDrive on demand, but this feature is actually available in the device for a long time. But in the Windows device, the Windows 10 is actually a newly feature here. So what exactly here? So from the screenshot, you should see that the files actually available in your client, but it doesn't use your storage on your device. So this is exactly the OneDrive files on demand. So with this feature, and you can get the files, the file icons to show up in your synced folder, but actually the file doesn't download into your computer. It just show a folder, just show a icon. So the end user can exactly to see the file list, but do not download those files. Once they open that file, and then the OneDrive will download this file from the SharePoint Online or the OneDrive, and then they can get those files. So this is quite useful because it will help our customer to download the exactly which file they need, which file they just want have a reference, or just they don't need at this time. So this is quite important for our end user to save their local device storage here. So this is very important. So here, so this is exactly the OneDrive on demand, and these new features is actually appeared not the recent new feature, but this is actually I'm giving you some the list here. You can learn something like this, something like the sync capabilities. So you can sync all your files anywhere, anytime from PC and the Mac. Okay, so you can working together to access your files quite simple and more powerful with the user here. Those are the new features, something like the on-demand files is actually available in the next generation sync client tool, and actually it's only on the Windows 10. So later I'm giving you some the demos here, so you can learn something about this. Okay. Those are new features in the something like the storage, compliance, and the notifications here. Okay, these are the two users reports. Okay, so you can use these the reports to see how exactly the user are working on your OneDrive and the OneDrive for Business. So the demo is actually focusing on the quite newly features, so you can learn something about this here. I'm sharing a link, so let me find a link to you can learn something like this. Exactly. So you can see here, Windows 10 for creators updates. Yeah, IM is in OneDrive, and you need to download the IM's client. Yeah, I intend to talk about this today. Yeah, but so you can see here what exactly the OneDrive file on demand here. So this is the way the requirement. You can see OneDrive requires Windows 10 for creators updates. Okay, and the OneDrive built with this version. So that is a way. Okay, so this is something you get refer from this place. So Hannah, is that answer your question? Okay, so sharing with you my demo here. This is actually I'm using my working folder. So right now I'm on my working computer. I already got this. You can see there is an option. There is an option is actually the save space and download the files as you use them. So if I check this option, and you can see how exactly is this. So you can see here. You can see those the folders I'm working here. I'm using every day. So for some files, actually download directly. So you can see here, for example, in this files. Okay, download. But for this file, let me check for some files. You can see for these files, you can see exactly the folder, the cells, but the size on the disk is 0 bytes here. So this will be helpful for me to save the storage on my clients. Okay, so this is exactly the OneDrive on demand. And I see another question. Oh, the IIM in the OneDrive. Actually, you need to download the IMS client. So let me give you. I don't have this demo, but I know this. So give you a quick demo. Give you a quick information. You can see this link should be helpful for you. Yeah, I know this link. I know this feature. You need to download you need to download something, a tool. The IMS clients. I remember this is mentioned in this place. Yeah. You need to download this one, the IMS Management Service Clients. So you can try this by yourself, okay? So, me too. Is your question answered? Okay. Okay, so today we still have 30 minutes, so we can working together to answer your questions, and you can also to share your something like your practice, your experience, or your problems when you talk to your customers, so we can together to talking about these things. Okay. So now we are working in the Q&A session. So feel free to ask questions. So after this today's session, we will sharing with you the recording, and you can, and also sharing with you the slides here. Any question? Okay. So this is our tomorrow. We'll be talking about the Office 365 teamwork organizations. In this session, this is about we will talking about the planner, Office 365 planner, teams, bookings, something like these features in the Office 365. So you're welcome to join the session again. Oh, sorry, the type of issue. In this Friday, we will be talking about the external sharing with the OneDrive for Business. Okay. For the IRM, it needs to install an enterprise as IRM server, or it will work with. Oh, okay. So if this is the Office 365, so this is the Azure Information Protection. Okay. The IIM server is actually in the SharePoint on-premise, but today I'm talking about the Office 365, so the data is protected by the Azure, the IMS service. Okay. I don't have this demo, but I think I can give you some screenshots after the session's delivery, so you can give some steps here. Any troubleshooting steps for OneDrive sync related issues here? Yeah. So actually, I have been working in the frankly, I have been working in the Microsoft Office 365, the customer service team. Yeah, definitely I do a lot of the break case in the past. Just sharing some the experiences when I have in the past here. The common issues I have been facing is that they have the customer have some the files, the conflict issues. So the files cannot be synced when it was in the OneDrive for Business, that is the group.exe. It is quite common in the past I have ever, but when it is the OneDrive .exe, it is better right now. Yeah, and but but still, we might see some the conflict issue. The conflict issue, I think, mostly is that the several users, they are working on the same files, but occasionally the files can't be synced back to the Office 365. So probably they might have different versions from the different client here. So in this case, they will see some the conflict when they want to sync back that file into the Office 365. So this is quite common. And I can give you a link. You can learn the OneDrive, the troubleshooting. Yeah, so this is the actually this is quite common, the message here. So the best, I think you need to ask the support team, and actually we need to check the logs, and because there are many reasons or causes to result this kind of error message, So the best one is to connect to the to submit a tickets, and the support engineer can help you to drive the logs. Okay, so you can also try it by yourself. So you can try. I'm not sure if you know the Fiddler. You can use the Fiddler to check what exactly the HTML transactions between your client into the Office 365. So using the Fiddler, you can check what happened, what exactly the issue. And so using that tools, and also the OneDrive, you can have the logs in the folder. You can check the diagnose logs in your OneDrive. So that one can help you to find out something the issue. But this is not exactly a simple way to say this is you see this message and I'm giving you a resolution, because a couple of the causes to result in this issue. Okay, so the best way to ask the support team to do a remote session to troubleshooting this issue. That will be help you for this. But if you want to learn how exactly to troubleshoot the OneDrive, I can talk something about this. Okay, we can talk after the session. I can give you some of the recommendations to learn how to find out how to use the Fiddler, how to read something in the logs here, so you can learn something by yourself. Okay. Fiddler. I'm not sure if you know this. Yeah, this one. This is a very common tool to diagnose the HTML transaction between your client and the Office 365. Yeah, thanks, me too, Sherry. So, other question? So right now I'm handling the Q&A. My colleague Alan is working on another case. Thank you. Me too. So if you have other questions, you are feel free to contact me. This is my email, so we can further to talk about the Office 365 and the SharePoint, something like this. Okay. Thank you, Hannah. Okay, if no questions, and I'm going to end today's presentations. So in order to improve our service, I would like you to give in the feedback by this link. So client give the feedback by this link. And thanks again for everyone. Thanks for your time in joining the session. Thank you, Na. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Mitu. And thank you, Hai. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lo Chen En. Thank you.